I gotta sit down for this one. This is something else.
Ain't gotta spend a dime, it's free. No, it's gonna be a wild night. Let's go. Doors open, you don't need a key. Show you how to live the wild life. Let's see the bottom. Hey, yeah. Let's hit the throttle. Oh my God, yeah. Hands going up. Let's hit the dance floor again.
Wild like.
Hello, welcome to The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and today I'm going to review a thing. I like this. Why don't I do this more often? So today I got something very different than usual. Instead of talking about something that came out years ago or a few months ago, I'm going to talk about something that just came out Friday. Or at least my Friday. This is coming up on Tuesday. It's Sunday right now. And about 5 hours ago I went to the theater. And it's very rare on The Wild Review I would talk about something that I saw in the theaters. You know, of course it was Sponge Out of Water, which was my first review. I saw that in theaters. I made a video of it. The Hunger Games movie, the recent one, the fourth one, and basically all the Hunger Games movies I talked about. The new Star Wars movie I talked about. I think that was it. Other than that, everything else has been on television. But it's very rare I talk about a recent movie that has come out. And the reason I don't like jump on the train of like new films in theaters is because I never really get time to go to the movies anymore, and they've also gotten a bit expensive. I really would have liked to see Finding Dory and Secret Life of Pets, but I couldn't because I just didn't have any time, and I'm not gonna have any time as well because I also work during the week. But today I saw a film, a certain film caught my eye and I wanted to see it ever since I saw the trailers for it back in like May, June or whatever, whenever the trailers came out. So what's interesting about this particular movie is that it's come out with a whole bunch of other films that are just like it. It's an animal film. By the title you could probably guess what it is. What's interesting is I could have seen any film. I could have seen Finding Dory because that's still in theaters. I could have seen Secret Life of Pets. 2 films about animals. Well, there's a third one about animals that's in theaters, and I chose to see that. And surprisingly, it's got a very low rating on IMDb with a 3.3 out of 10, and it's got very bad reviews. But I wanted to see it, so a few hours ago I saw 9 Lives. The movie 9 Lives, I don't know why they call it 9 Lives, honestly. Because 9 Lives is the myth about cats, that when they die, they have extra lives. And, I mean, I kind of believe in that. I believe that cats have 9 lives, you know, being the crazy person I am. But, no, the cat didn't die. There was no... Well, there was some very deadly imagery in the movie, but the cat did not die. So if you have no idea what 9 Lives is, it's a movie about a dad that turns into a cat. Basically take the Shaggy dog and make him into a cat. That's who this is. That's all this is. That's the first thing that came to mind when I saw the trailer and for the first 10 minutes of the movie. The movie stars Kevin Spacey, and he plays a man named Tom Brand. He owns his own business and the apartment building that him and his family lives in. He has an ex-wife. He has a son from that ex-wife. And now he has a new wife, played by Jennifer Garner, and they have a daughter. And, you know, he's the typical kind of father that's like, he never has time for his family. He's always working. He's always doing this. All that stuff. So, his daughter's birthday is coming up, and he's got to get her a gift, because his wife bought her a gift, and she's not sharing it with him. He's got to be responsible for his own gift. So he goes to a pet shop because his daughter really wants a cat. And he walks in, and right there is Christopher Walken playing Felix Perkins. Yeah, Perkins. Felix Perkins. I don't know if he's not the main antagonist of the film. The trailers make him look like he's the antagonist, because he turns the dad into a cat. He has these powers that he knows everything. He's a cat whisperer, and he basically has the ability, I guess, to turn people into cats, or at least have them have something horrible happen to them and then have their soul be put into the cat. Because what happens is, on his way back home, Tom gets a call from his business, and the main antagonist of the film, who I don't even know his name, but he calls for something ridiculous, gets Tom all mad, and then Tom ends up falling off the building because he almost got struck by lightning. Him and the cat almost, they almost die and stuff, but luckily he doesn't die because he crashes into another floor in the building. He becomes unconscious, but his soul goes into the cat. And he basically gets trapped inside the cat's body and will not be let out until he reconnects with his family, which is what Felix wants him to do. So for the majority of the film, it's basically like, it's like a Shaggy Dog. It's like 1,000 Words that starred Eddie Murphy. It's like one of those films where it's like, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Here's how you're being punished. You need to learn how to do this better. And I've seen that at least 5 times. This is a bit different. And if I'm gonna be honest, it's average. It's not a bad film like everyone's saying. I did like it, but to a point. So before I get into details about this, let me start off by saying Christopher Walken is a great actor. Like, if you watch this, you're probably gonna think I'm insane. Well, I'm already insane, but I have never seen Christopher Walken in a film. I've never watched Christopher Walken ever. I've never seen him in a film. I don't even know if he does any television, but I've never seen anything from his work. So this was a good first impression to see him in action. I mean, maybe it might have not been his greatest role because it's in a children's film, and a children's film that's getting bombed. So, because nobody's really liking this film. But I like the way he brings this character to life. That's what an actor has to do. They have to bring this character that they're given to life. And he does a really good job of being this mysterious, crazy old guy that has these powers. It blew me away with his acting skills. I thought he was just some cool guy that had a funny talking voice. But it impressed me. As for everything else, I say the film is average because it's one of those films that you will watch, you will laugh, you'll smile, you'll probably get into it, but when you walk out of the theater, you're probably not going to remember it next week. Like, I don't even remember some of the characters. Like, I have just, like, a character list right here of the characters that I remember. I don't even know who, Tom's wife's name was. I don't know what her name was. I don't know what his daughter's name was. But it's a very average film. It's very forgetful, though. Like, at parts it is very bland. So I can understand why that would hold the film back. At some parts it is pretty boring. The beginning was somewhat boring, and I felt like I've seen it before. The guy from True Jackson, VP, I don't remember what character he played. This guy, I have a picture. This guy right here, he was also in this early Scooby-Doo live-action films, not the ones with the grown-ups, the one with the teenagers. Yeah, that one. He was in this film. He played the son. He did a pretty good job at his role, you know. There was a whole controversy about their building wanting to be the biggest and tallest one in New York City. And that's another thing. Why I get New York City, big city, great city to film in, but it seems like that a lot of these films that I happen to watch all take place in New York City. You know, you never see any films taking place in Iowa or Texas anymore, especially with all these films that have like these magic things happen to people. Like, you know, Enchanted took place in New York. You know, all these Disney characters coming up from the sewers. This film getting turned into a cat. Ghostbusters. everything takes place here in New York. I just find that very funny. While we're on the topic of funny, the comedy in this film was surprisingly good. I did not expect to really laugh at this film because after the first 20 minutes, it really wasn't funny. Like I said, it was bland. But when the dad becomes the cat, that is where the comedy starts. There's just joke after joke. And first off, the cat is a real cat. Like sometimes he'll be CGI, but they don't add in the cat's mouth moving like they would do. In some animal talking films, they would move the mouth. They don't move the mouth, but you hear his voice because his voice is his thoughts. You hear the cat's thoughts or the dad's thoughts. And he is really funny in these scenes. He makes remarks about his ex-wife. He makes jokes about, why is this happening? Just kill me right now or something. There was an ironic joke that was made, and it was really funny. He's he was on a computer or something, and it didn't have a mouse. It was a touchscreen. He's ironically, I need a mouse for this, or I should get a mouse for that. And that's the first joke that I laughed at. In fact, that was the first joke in the film, I think. But the comedy was spot on in this movie, which I was surprised at. Usually when I hear that films like this aren't doing very well, I wouldn't imagine that they are funny, or at least they are funny, but they're ruined by something. This film had spot-on jokes at the right time, and I was really the only guy without a parent in this film, because again, it's a children's film. So there were a bunch of kids there, and they had their parents. Even the parents were laughing. I heard them. So many moms laughing at all the jokes. All the dads were laughing. The kids, of course, were laughing because it's a kids' film. But I was generally surprised how many funny jokes this film had. Unfortunately, the jokes did not last long. From the moment the dad becomes a cat to, I want to say, when things start getting a bit serious in the film, halfway through the film, that is where the jokes stop. So after the jokes, really, it's just just watching to see what happens. The laughter that came out of me was high up in the film, high in the film, mostly the middle, But I definitely like the comedy. I was surprised it had some good comedy. And mind you, again, this was a children's film. Like I said, it was rated PG, and usually PG, that you can see it with your parents. It's for kids and stuff. All ages can see it. And I talked about this last week when I did the Dr. Seuss review on the 2 live-action Dr. Seuss films. The Cat in the Hat has a lot of adult jokes, and the Grinch also has a few, but the Cat in the Hat is loaded with adult jokes. And like I said, I don't mind adult jokes being in kids' films. In fact, it's not even a bad thing. And I understand why the guys behind the films would do it. Because if you're making a kids' film and you add some adult humor, that's entertaining for the parents that are being forced to go to the movie. So I understand that. There is a limit, though, I believe, that should be put when doing these adult jokes. In this film, after Tom becomes a cat, he gets his compartment of drinks and alcohol, and he gets drunk. Now you just see the cat wandering around because he's drunk, and then the next morning he has a hangover. I don't think the kids will understand that. I didn't find it as... I found what he was saying funny, but I didn't think the scene was very appropriate. It was appropriate for the scene, but I don't think it was appropriate for the movie. But it was a big surprise on that. And one thing that's bothering me, out of everything that the film goes through, the one thing that is bothering me is near the ending. The son, who's played by this guy in True Jackson VP, his name was David. David Brand, that's his name. David, I guess, was going to commit suicide or something. He was like, I'm going to jump. And he was going to commit suicide because his dad was on the verge of death in the hospital, you know, when really his dad's in the cat position thing. And he was going to jump, he jumped off the building. He was committing suicide. And I was like, why are you putting this in a kid's film? But then he's got like a parachute on. Like, the dad in the cat body jumps with him, looks at him, he's got like a parachute on. When did he put the parachute on? I never saw him put a parachute on. It's stuff like that. If you're gonna do something like that, you need to show it. You know, you don't wanna have a scene where a guy's like, okay, I'm gonna get eaten by a shark. Strictly say it. Have him jump in the water, making him look like he's drowning, while also trying to get the shark's attention. And then have him like pull out something from his back that kills the shark. It's like, you don't do that kind of stuff. With also this film, there were, you know, of course, subplots. It was, like I said, there was a thing about his business. Somebody wanted to take it over and stuff, but the son wouldn't let that happen. There was also a little plot between the daughter and his ex-wife's daughter. She had a daughter after they divorced, so there was a bit of a controversy between those two characters because the blonde girl, who's the friend, was never really a friend. She was just like picking on her and stuff. She took a picture when she was crying and stuff. And in the scene in the trailer, I saw that, you know, the cat was going to take her phone because he knew what was going on. He knew she was like bullying her. So he took the cat, and I was actually really surprised to see this scene because in the trailer it made it look like the cat threw the phone in the toilet, when really the girl was the one to throw the phone in the toilet, which surprised me. Also, in the trailer, when the cat does pull-ups, he doesn't do any pull-ups. They just made it look like he was doing pull-ups. And something else about the girl, I don't know. First off, she looks like a Dora. She looks like Dora the Explorer in a way, because she's got bangs. But she was a fine actress. You know, she was a very happy person. She tried thinking positive, and even at times when like she wanted to cry or something. But what amazes me about the daughter is that she broke a chain in these kind of films. When a main character like Tom has a secret or is going through something like what he is, being a cat, usually like the best friend of the main character will be the first one to like find out or something, and will only be like the one to know about it. Well, surprisingly, over course of the movie, the daughter starts looking up things about cats, and she comes to realization that her dad is the cat. So I was surprised that somebody in the family line discovered this guy's secret, which is weird, but cool at the same time. I was just very shocked that they wrote her to be that sort of intelligent, to be that one person to figure it out before anybody else. Really, the last thing I have to say about this film is the ending. I definitely liked how it ended. So obviously it's a happy ending, of course, which I'm actually starting to get sick of happy endings. But you know, the dad wakes up from the coma, he gets his company back, everything's happy and stuff. And he's reconnected with his family. But what I like most about it is that he really didn't learn anything from this. Like, the dad was put in that cat body because he needed to reconnect with his family. And he did that, but strictly in the beginning of the movie, he states he does not like cats. Then after being forced into a cat body, he hated every moment of it. And then when he's even back as a human, he still does not like cats. So his opinion about cats has not changed, which is good, you know? Don't make his thing about cats change throughout the film, you know? They didn't even say, like, a cat's life is hard or something. I understand what these guys gotta go through. No, cats are evil. But what's great about the ending is that he takes his daughter back to the cat place, where Christopher Walken's character is, and, you know, they're like, well, we can't have Mr. Fluffy anymore, or Fluffy Pants, that's his name. He's gone and stuff. We were hoping you can give us a dog. And Christopher Walken's like, no. So he gives the girl a new cat, and Tom's just there. He's like, oh, I guess that's a no on the dog and stuff. And then that's it. That's it. That was a perfect ending. He didn't learn much, and he's still gonna be tortured and stuff. Which isn't bad because, now he's got a better life and stuff, but I find it a good ending. Maybe that's what gets people aggravated about this movie, maybe. That's probably why it's not doing as well, but I think it's a fine ending. I laughed at that ending. So overall, I was really surprised to see how well this film did, just by sitting there and watching it. Though this was only my first experience of it, I don't think I'm going to watch it any more times. I usually only watch films like once. But if I ever see it again, maybe I would have a different opinion or something like that. I think it's fine. It definitely is an average film, like I said. It can be forgetful. So that's what I think about Nine Lives. Now I want to hear what you guys think. Have you seen the trailers for Nine Lives? Have you seen Nine Lives in theaters at all? It should still be in theaters. It only came out last Friday. If you saw it, what do you think about it? Do you agree, disagree with anything I said in this video? Tell me in the comments, and also leave me your suggestions for whatever movie, TV show, or random thing you want me to talk about next. Thanks for watching The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and you just saw me review a thing.